Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining and watching the next episode in this series of mine, chatting with some of the most interesting, innovative, inspiring pedal builders in the pedal industry. So I'm very happy to welcome and say a big hello to Marc from SoundLad Liverpool. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you on. And the first time we've properly spoken in person. We've chatted a lot online over the years, but somehow this is the first time we've actually meeting kind of face to face. So yeah, great to meet you.
Yourself, mate, yeah.
Cheers. So for anyone who may be living under a rock, who may not know who you are or SoundLad Liverpool, just give us a brief overview of your pedal company.
Yeah, I'm Marc from SoundLad Liverpool. I build pedals, I suppose, like original designs that I think are going to be quite fun, or I've no idea what I'm doing, to be honest. A lot of the time, I just make stuff and I go, oh, this is quite fun, and then I release it and try my hardest to sell them, and it does well. So I found myself in this space with this space, and it's build pedals, mate. Design pedals, that's what I like. Yeah, I'm a designer, I think. Definitely a designer.
Right. Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. I think, well, we'll get to that later on. I've got plenty of questions I want to ask you about all the design elements of what you do. But first of all, I mean, it makes sense always with these kinds of interviews to just go back to the beginning. And where did it all start for you? The first experience with using effects yourself?
Oh, mate. Oh, mate. I had a bad run with pedals actually when I was growing up, because I was like missold my first couple of pedals by a salesman, and I basically I had the Metal Zone as my first pedal, and that was good, man. And I was like, but there was something like, it was kind of, whenever we did the recordings with it, I was in a band when I was about 16, 17. Whenever we did recordings with it, I noticed it sounded a bit like a wasp in a can on the recordings. I obviously, that could have been me like dialing it wrong. So, but I was 16, 17, whatever. So I went into Dawson's in Liverpool and said to him like, yeah, I want to do this. And he said, what kind of stuff are you into? And obviously I was into Metallica. And obviously you recommended a Big Muff. I don't know how that happened. So I had the Black Russian muff in the wooden box. Remember them ones?
Yeah, nice.
And black and yellow, really really nice looking pedal. And I remember him playing through it, and it's sounding. I wasn't that impressed, but I thought to myself, this guy, man, he knows. He works in Dawson's, mate. Like this, do you know what I mean? He's the man. And he was playing and he was doing some licks. Yeah, mate. Like Dawson's, this is where you
guitar knowledge. It's up there.
It's on the Dawson's, and you walk in and it's like, oh mate, these, like, you feel like you're somewhere with your people, and then so like, and if you just go in and say like what you have to, they'll be like, mate, don't worry about it. Experts, definitely experts, like Metallica, Big Muff. And I just never satisfied, and I was into the all the lads used to take the mick out of me because I'd be in college, like, and I'd be like I was like noodling away. The lads called me Dunny Van Phelan. I mean, my last name's Dunn. And I was always like noodling away, and it's just when I plug the Big Muffin and I'm trying to do the like Hot for Teacher, the classic, like I'm trying to give it all that, and it just wasn't cutting it. And so I determined that if the man at Dawson's couldn't sort this out, and I couldn't sort this out, because obviously, like, as a young artist, I'm not gonna blame myself. I'm gonna blame everyone else around me. The gear or whatever, So I was like, well, it's got to be pedals. Like wholesale are just awful, and so I got into amps. So I started like as an amp guy, really, and so I bought. I think I went out. I was on eBay. I bought the JCM 900 SLX, which was, I was on Harmony Central at the time, and there was a lot of opinions knocking around, and I actually used to be like a radio guy, so I looked at the schematic, and from what I could tell, it was a 900, but with the transistor stage taken out and a valve stage put in instead, which was basically, as far as I could tell, that was the Mike Soldano mod, and it had the 6L6s in the power stage. And I thought, it's basically a Soldano. It's like Marshall's reaction to it, whatever. So I bought that, and that wasn't cutting it either with the gain. I didn't know about using pedals to boost the front end and whatever.
Right.
So I went down the Mesa route. So I got a Mesa Boogie, and that was something else. That was, and then I just didn't use pedals for the longest time, and then yeah, like years and years and years, and I was doing like gigs all over the place. I had a big like rack system, the Mesa dual monoblock power amp, like at the whole thing.
Cool. Well, I like how there was about a minute's worth of pedal talk before immediately talking about amps for the next 10 minutes.
I think, do you know what? Like, this is it, isn't it? Like, pedals is like bit in between your guitar and your amp. And if you're not getting along with pedals, like I wasn't, and amps is where you're going to end up, and you get to know your amps and stuff, and then I don't know. I think like the pedals are something that you sprinkle on top afterwards. I've never been a fan of using a pedal tone as like a bass tone for anything. If I can get away with it, I'll use the valves just because of the way, like I say, the loading, but also like the way that the gain, like I've heard someone say blooms, the way it blooms, like the way the feel of it, the dynamic, like the chest, the nuance, like every little thing on your fingers when you move it, it's like a piano. You know, if you sit at like an old piano and you're playing it, it's very different than a digital piano, and there's something else there, like in your chest. There's something you can't. We've had this about feel, haven't we? Like, there's something about
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for that word. I was waiing for. But I think in that instance, I think it's right though, because like you say, playing a piano, it is feel because there's all that feedback that you're getting through your fingers. That's very tangible. It's visceral. You know, it's like a haptic feedback almost. Like you're literally picking up everything like through your hands. You're feeling that literally. The difference in that. There are
translational nuance. I don't know how to describe it other than use just the word feel, mate. Like,
go for it.
It's like being an analog piano and just versus the digital piano. And like digital's different, and I know solid state's different, and we're going down like, you know, you can the words to wrap it up, but the valves have a very unique. They're a lot more difficult to play. Like I remember the first time I plugged into the JCM 900, and I had to learn how to play the amp like it was a separate instrument. I had to sit there and like I was trying to play like my riffs like Slayer and that or whatever I was doing back in the day, you know, like trying to do that. And I expected that when I played, that coming out of the amp would be the sound of Slayer. Because I was playing the riff right, and of course it was me. It wasn't me, of course. It's never me. Come on,
no, it wouldn't be. No,
it's everything else, right? So I'm playing it, and I'm going like, it's not. And I'm turning the gain up, and I'm going, that seems like I couldn't get because everything matters at that point. And I think sometimes you don't get that with pedals. Sometimes you plug into them, you hit the box, and then the sound you want comes out the box, and it's very forgiving. Whereas the amps were incredibly unforgiving, and I felt like after I'd committed that time and sat down and learnt to play the amp as well, I felt it was very difficult to convince me otherwise at that point. And I remember going back into pedals a little bit because a friend of mine was using he was in like a tech metal band, and he had like this really because I was in like the post-hardcore emo screamo scene, you know, this dead dum dum dum, and it was like consistent gain across, and it was like stop, you know, for the big beat downs and that, like on the beat, every bam 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 with it was like the guitar was like a percussion instrument he was playing that was like had like kind of melody on it, and he was just doing this, and I said to him, how are you like, what are you doing? And he had I don't want to give away secrets here, but it's been 15 years, Yaka, so we'll have to just get over it. But it was like it was a tube screamer, and flagged either side of it was two compressors.
Okay.
And he was driving that into the front end, and he had his amp set a certain way. And I remember looking at that and just going, oh, do you know what? So then, so I went off on another journey. I was like, I need higher gain to try and like accommodate for the fact. I ended up in the Laney. So when you said Laney, then I was like, oh mate, I love Laneys. I love Laney amps. I've got one. There's one there, just like little Super Cub. Like I really love them. I had the VH100R, which was the. Have you ever heard Grand Reveries by Opeth?
I know of it. Metal is a bit of a blind spot for me.
I was exclusively a metalhead up until I was about 22, and there's this song, this album, Ghost Reveries, Was it? I don't know. Opeth anyway. And it had this song on it. I think it was called like Damnation or something. It's like, and it had this riff, and it was tight, and I was like, what is that? And then on the same album, there was a song called like Letters to Something or Other, and it had this beautiful like really singing, harmonically rich kind of. It was almost like a oh man, it's track 8 on that album. It was wonderful. And then I learned that it was the same amp. Like, and I was like, no way, man. No.
Which album is this, by the way? Which album?
It's Black and Yellow, the album.
Okay.
It is Ghost Reveries and Ghost of Perdition. Oh, Grand Conjuration. There's a riff in that. There's a riff in Grand Conjuration, and that was the one, and I was like, what is he doing? And then the song, the other song, track 8, like, was Isolation Years, it's called. Oh, to go from Grand Conjuration to Isolation Years, and you're telling me that's the same amp. I'm like, oh, mate, I'm done. So I bought this amp, and it was just the greatest amp experience, but it was 100 watts. And I just, like, I was doing gigs at the time, and we were doing anything between, like, 100 and 1,000 people, depending on, like, how good the promoter was, generally.
Right.
And even at the 100 watts, I think it had, like, a step down to 50. I think it was 2 GH50Ls in the same box, which is the Paul Gilbert amp. And even split, I think you could split it, even splitting it to 50 watts. The Class ABs, they don't break up. Class AB 6L6s, right? Had 6L6s in. They don't break up till you get to about volume 8 or 9, and then then they start compressing, and then that bit, and you couldn't adjust the preamp gain to drive it in hotter. You had to get it to volume 8 or 9 for that to happen at 50 watts, Class AB. Like, even the gigs I was doing, there wasn't a chance, mate. The sound is like, no, you're not doing that. It's like, oh, well, I mean, this is like, I'm just not getting the tightness that I need, you know. I just yearned for the 30 watts Class AB, the Class A's, the EL34s, and I think Orange still do an amp now. There's a fella called John Lawton in Liverpool who runs Crosstown Studios, and he's got this Orange amp, and Orange made this amp Class A 30 watts in the power stage, and I keep telling him, like, if you're ever selling that, John, give me a shout. I refuse to go and look for it. I think that the right gear finds you at the right time, and so I'm not really a gear chaser. And I always say to him, John, if you're ever selling that, like, I'll buy it. Like, I'll buy. And even now, I've got 2 kids now, like, and I've got to deal with this, and I'm in this shit. But if he put that up for sale tomorrow, I would buy it, just to have that again. Just like, oh, listen to that. Mrs. is like, what are you doing? Like, listen to that Class A 30 watts CL34. Listen to that. Listen to that warmth. I've only got it on volume 5. You know, it's just breaking up. Like, can you believe that? Listen to that. It's just. Like...
So back to the pedal thing then. So getting from when you've gone through the mental writing off, if we can call it that, of pedals, thinking, oh no, pedals no good, amps are where it's at, and then going down that path, and then all of the amp experiences that you've had, and then working on them and using them. What was it then that made you think, I'm going to reintroduce pedals into what I do again? Like, what was there anything, any one kind of experience that thought, oh, actually, maybe I've been a bit, maybe I've judged a bit harshly here?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. There was I switched to Voxes after that, because like I wanted that Vox tone, that pure, like, there's something there, right? There's just something. The Vox players know it, and everybody else just, I don't know, but every Vox player knows that there's a thing about plugging into a Vox amp. And I had it, and I was in a blues band at the time, and then I was in like a Senegalese jazz fusion outfit for a little bit, and there was just like there was this bit where I wanted to do a solo, and we had a sax player, and what I thought would be really cool is if we could, like, with the sax player, if I could bounce back and forth with the sax player, but like tonally quite similar. But the AC30 is not that amp to do that. The AC15, sorry, as it was, is not the amp to do that with, really, And so I said to a friend of mine, what pedal should I use for this kind of sound? And he said, oh, you want a fuzz face? I said, okay, sound, no. And then so I tried a fuzz face and I didn't like it. Tom Benson let me on at a gig one night, and then they chucked it back at him after the gig. I was like, what is that, man? It was a blue one, in a big blue one. I was like, no, that's not it. And
probably the only person in history to have had that reaction with a fuzz face.
Metalhead,
it's refreshing.
Metalhead.
You know, I like it.
Just like,
I like it.
This is not it. Yeah, man, this is it. I was like, if it's not for you, it's not for you, is it? I understand. And I was listening to Dave Gilmour. I'd listened to Gilmour, and it was the time solo, and I was like, "That's the sound that I need." What is that? This kind of like space age, kind of like almost a trumpet sound, like. And someone said, "Oh yeah, he uses a big muffin." Like, all right.
You're like, are you
one of
kidding
them.
me?
Yeah.
Like going
And,
back
so,
to the beginning again.
right back here with Big Muff,
Yeah.
you know. So I found how many Wonders of the World are there? Seven. There's
7.
seven, isn't there? Yeah. Well, I found the eighth, which was Kit Ray's Big Muff page, right? And then so I found the Violet era Big Muff, and I was like, all right, sound. So I started building it, and it just didn't sound like the time solo, and I was like, what? This is like, okay. So then I just started like tinkering with it till it did. Or I got somewhere close. I was like, is pedal? It sounds like the battery's dying. So I built like a little like a battery dying mod into my Big Muff, and then I was like trying to get the sound out of it and dial it and sing. I thought, oh, okay, that's kind of similar, but it's still not really there. And then I called it the Shark Infested Custard. And it was like this from the Benny Hill sketch, you know. And this was like me pedal, and it was lying around for a while. And then eventually I learned. Somebody said to me, "Yeah, he does use a Big Muff, yeah, but like he uses on Dark Side of the Moon, he used a fuzz face." Actually, I was like, "Oh, you're kidding!" Like, no way. I just spent ages on this, and so then I got a fuzz face, and there it was, you know, silicone fuzz face. There it was, and I was like, "Oh, cheers, Tom Benson. You were right." I didn't tell him. I haven't told him. I don't think you know. If you're watching this, Tom, you were right. But yeah, okay. And then like a few years later, like the COVID lockdown kicked in and that, and I was going to record the world's greatest album, and so I thought there was a solo in a song that I really want this like tortured, like starved guitar solo, and I was like, do you know what? I used to have a pedal for that, and it was in the Shark Infested Custard, and I'd left it with Dave from the Steve Rothery band, you know, from Marillion, is it? That band who did the. Okay. He did a song anyway, and this guy, he had the solo project, and Dave was the guitarist on it, and he had my Shark Infested Custard. The other one was with Jack Garrett, I think. I don't know. I built two, and they were off in the world doing their job somewhere. And,
right.
And I was like, right, I'm gonna need to rebuild this, and I've got time on my hands. You know, with COVID, I was like, I've got time.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I just obsessed about it, and then I was like, I'm not doing the thing again with the what I had to go through to get that done the first time. I had to cash in loads of favours at the electronics engineering department at the uni. Like, I had to go and speak to them, and it was a pain. It took months. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to make it properly and professionally. And then I rang some enclosure people because I wanted the boxes done, and they were like, it's going to be 50 minimum. And I was like, well, I only want one. And they were like, right, well, it's going to be like $1,000 for one, or 1,200 quid for 50. And I said, oh, go on then. So I started an Instagram page to try and shift the other 49. That was the Hungry Beaver.
That was okay. I was going to ask. I was going to ask if that was what you were describing. I was thinking, I wonder if this is that pedal.
The Hungry Beaver, yeah, that's it. So that was the Hungry Beaver then, and then that was the expression of my journey with pedals. It's just this thing that like, and it was awful. It did things it shouldn't be doing. Like, as a commercial pedal company, you shouldn't do the things that I did with the Hungry Beaver. But and I know that now because I'm still still selling them. Like, but but that's what I needed at the time, and that's what I built, and I've I'm committed now, and yeah. so now I do pedals, yeah, because after that they sold quite well, and I was like, oh, this is a bit odd.
There might be something in this.
Yeah, let's do it. So that was it. Off I went, and now I'm a pedal guy suddenly. And everyone expects me to know everything about pedals. I'm like, mate, I thought that like Dave Gilmour on Time was a Big Muff, and that's why I'm here. You know, it's just like, because I'm not really going on the internet. I'm just sat around with a bunch of lads going, oh yeah, it's a Big Muff, that is it? Yeah, go ahead. And I'm putting the work in, and then it's a bloody fuzz face. Like, it's all right, okay. So who knows?
I love
who
it.
Knows?
You're the world's most reluctant and ill-informed pedal builder.
Yeah, but maybe this is what I mean. Yeah, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. It's not that I don't like pedals. I just don't like other people's opinions on them. So I'm just like,
Right. Yeah. There's a lot
so
of
I
them
just go
about.
like, is there? Yeah. You'd have to tell me. Like, I don't know. I haven't got enough. I don't
I mean,
look.
I've
Do
got
you know
a
what I
lot of
mean?
them. I've got a lot of
Have
them.
you?
I'm a very opinionated person, as you know, and I will happily debate different controversial opinions all day long about pedals.
Yeah, but you've turned it into enough pedals there. I saw you stand up before. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I do have. Well, this is just basically a visual representation of my uh, inadequacies and insecurities and inability to make wise financial decisions. It's just, yeah, that's basically all this is.
mine's R&D these days. So I'll be like,
Right.
so I've just done a tremolo recently, and I've got like every tremolo going down here, all different construction techniques, and everyone's like, that they're all slightly different, and there's so many ways about, and it's like there's a lot of, it's not just creativity in the sound as well, which I've actually kind of become really quite enamored with. I don't want to like wax too lyrical about it, but like there's the sound of the creative aspect of like what it's doing to your sound, and then how the artist's going to use it and what you can do with it, and then limiting it down. But there's also the construction method, which I love it absolutely.
Yeah.
The variation between it. I know there's that in amps as well, but like the variation in the pedals space and the creativity involved in it is actually mind blowing to me these days now. And that's why I love it. Like when I got all the tremolos in, I was opening them all up, seeing how everyone's gone about it, kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was going to. I've got a couple of questions later on about the about your fascination with the design elements of pedals, because I know you've posted quite a lot on Instagram about particular pedals that you've particularly been fascinated by or drawn to, and think, oh, check this out, isn't this good? And then doing a full breakdown. So I'll talk about that in a bit. But before we get into that, I was going to ask, with you talking about all of the amp stuff you were talking about, I was just wondering, any interest or ideas maybe of one day making an amp of your own? Like, it seems like it might be a natural leap to go from pedal building to doing.
It seems it, doesn't it? Like, I'd need to be like a lot bigger of a company, because the regulatory framework around amps is totally different. So like for pedals, we can sail under the kind of regulatory framework quite a lot, because it's a low voltage device. So as long as we're not using lead in our stuff, it's nice. And then shipping's actually really quite simple as well. So I don't know. I think it's something I'd do, like, for me, maybe like, I don't use phrase academically, but like just for the curiosity and just for the self satisfaction of that, and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, and like the intellectual kind of curiosity. But in terms of selling and marketing, and I'm not sure there's much to do in the amp space. Like, as bad as that sounds, I don't know what I'd have to say on the amp space. I've got nothing to say about it. I think they're great. I think that there's a lot of amp, and a lot of the time I'd just be like, just plug into an AC30.
Yeah.
For me,
well, I was thinking,
I'd just be like,
well, when you're waxing lyrical about that, was it Elaney you said of your mate had, that you were like, oh, if you ever sell it, what about borrowing it to trace it and copy it and build your own version of that, rather than...
That's it, man. That's it. I think if I had to say anything, it would be the Mesa Studio preamp into the Summer Class 295 is the best thing I ever had. So here's a clone of that.
Yeah.
And I, weirdly, I'm just not interested. I'd rather just. It doesn't, like, when I say it out loud, I don't feel like the need to get up and start whipping out components and, like, do you know what I mean? And like, that's enough for me. That's enough for me to just go, oh lad, it's going to be such an effort. Because on them days when it gets really difficult, the thing that gets you through is the curiosity. The thing that gets you through is the possibility space. The whole, it all opens out in front of you, and you don't know where you're going to go, you don't know what you're going to do, you don't know what it looks like, you don't know what the end result's going to be. You just know that you're in this space, and that the possibilities are out here, and you're exploring this possibility space. And the most, like, unsatisfying thing is when you figure it out and the possibility space collapses, and now you've got to babysit the thing, and now you've got to take it, so you've got to finish it off. And with the amp thing, the possibility space is zero. It's collapsed already. That's it. That's the tone for me. That is the best tone. And so it's completely uninteresting to me. Yeah.
Fair enough. With my complete lack of insight or a knowledge of pedals and circuitry, electronics in general, it blows my mind how people like yourself can even have that option, to like think, oh, can I do this? Should I do this? Oh, I might do. Like whether there's enthusiasm to do it or not, whether it's driven by purely as a business thing or just for yourself or whatever.
You can understand it and still not like there's like a level of resolution, like and you can understand it and still be like if you think about aspects of it too much, you just go, oh mate. Like
well, that's reassuring.
I like people doing something with themselves in generally, and like whatever it is that they're doing, and I think sometimes it is magic, and this is a good thing. It's good. You should be good enough so that what you do to somebody else, they just go, oh mate, that is magic.
How have you done that?
Yeah, man. This is when you're pretty like. This is when you're pretty good.
Well, I've definitely felt that in a big way with your latest pedal, and I think it's about time we talk about it because we've been talking about amps for like 80% of this so far. So I feel like we should talk about pedals as being the relevant elephant in the room. Sketchy.
Oh shit!
What?
Oh, sorry. I forgot you had one. Just like, what? Yes, man.
Wow. Cheers, dude.
Sorry, mate.
I'm glad I made an impression.
I wasn't sure if you'd sent it on. You were on about like something. You were like, "Oh, this person here, this person here." I said, "All right."
Yeah, no, I genuinely. You know what? Genuinely. Do you know Michael from Energy Effects? I know you're not an internet guy necessarily, but
Energy is in EMMERGY. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice gear. Like doesn't he do a lot of stuff with like proximity plates and stuff like that?
Yeah, he does all kinds of.
Yeah, really interesting.
He's amazing. Yeah, I was over at his on my way back from holiday the other day, and this was actually one of the pedals he'd actually asked to borrow. He was like, I want to try that Sketchy, that looks amazing. So I was like, absolutely, it's going in the box. And while I was away, because I think he was away while I was away, so it's like an overlap. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to be able to see him on the way down, but I'll have to like just hold on to the pedals while I'm on holiday and then drop them off on my way home. While I was away, that's when you messaged me about, hey mate, ready to do this interview thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, great, awesome. Hey, do you mind not having this one just yet? You can have the rest, and then I'll hold on to this for a little bit longer because I want to have it.
I've got loads of them.
Physically.
I'd have worked one out if you needed props. I've got loads of them, lad. I've got about 20 in here. Like, do you know what I mean? Should I give it to him?
I still
Give
will.
him his pedal, lad.
I will pass it. I will definitely still be sending it his way. I just thought I'll just prolong it a little bit. I said you've got enough to be going along with for the time being, but just prolonging it a little bit. So anyway,
making him wait. Good. I kind of like that as well. At the same time,
tantalising it. Yeah, good things come to all those who wait, of course. So the Sketchy then. Your latest pedal, most recent creation, a pretty massive step up as far as technologically, and in a lot of other ways. It's probably one of the most, if not the most, I would say, innovative effects pedals that I have ever come across. It's a masterpiece, quite frankly, I think. Anyway, so basically, my question is, where did the idea for this come from originally, and how did it go from the early stages of the idea to conception?
Oh, mate, like, yeah. So, tell us about it. Oh man, this is the problem. Once you do something like that, like the things that are interesting to me are not that interesting. Like about it. Like,
okay, well, just let's condense it down for the sake of simplicity. Okay. Just the conception, the idea. Where did the idea for it come from?
So, like, do you know Stomp Slaps John? He used to make the HX Stomp. He used to make like stickers for them over lockdown. He used to make, right, and he used to like over lockdown. Me and him used to just get on the web and that and do the thing and have a chat. And I was just on the phone one night and I was absolutely off me face. I used to drink a lot, like especially over lockdown.
Is this one of those things where you say I still do, but I used to too?
this is a rare occasion. I have like, wow, this is for me. Like three or four nights a year, I get to have a beer. So like when the
Well,
missus is away tonight, so I was like, yeah, we'll have a chat, but I'm gonna just have a few beers while we're having a chat, right?
you're,
Because there's
you're
very few
thinking
occasions.
I'm going to be talking to Phil. I'm going to definitely need some alcohol in my
Nah,
system
behave
to
yourself,
talk to
lad.
this guy.
So we had this. I was absolutely off my face chatting to him at me. I remember it actually at my front door in my old house, and I said to him, "Oh, lad, do you know what I want to do in this space now? Like I've done this now, and I've been selling these, and I've done this and whatever, blah blah blah." And I was like, "I want to do something mad, like absolutely just off the charts mad." I was like, and I was like, like and I said to him, like, imagine like a tremolo, where you can just like lift the screen, lift a little flap up, and draw like what you want on the screen, and then that's the waveform. I'd never seen that before, and I was like, that'd be quite fun, and it just sat there for about, say, about 2 or 3 years, and then obviously SoundLad became SoundLad and whatever, and it never occurred to me, and then I remember like I was learning to code and that, doing all that kind of stuff, and I was always like motivationally trying to do it. And then in November one year, ChatGPT was released, and I was like, "What's this now?" Someone said, "Oh, it's a large language model." I said, "Okay, well, what does that do?" They said, "Oh, well, it's a computer that you can like talk to." I said, "The computer speaks English." They were like, "Yeah, the computer speaks English," and I was like, "So, can I use the computer to speak computer if I speak English?" And they were like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Right." So I hooked up the Arduino, and I typed into it and said, I hooked up an LED to one of the pins. I said, "I want you to make me a sketch. I'm using Arduino. Make me a sketch that turns this thing on and off, like 1 second every second." And it did me a script. And I loaded it into the Arduino IDE, and then I compiled it, and off it went. And the LED started blinking on and off every second, and I was like,
Wow.
okay, well, that's a long, like, in terms of syntax, like in terms of like building the code, in terms of like your setup, your declarations and the structure. I thought, well, that was real quick. So that's the barrier to entry, just collapsed essentially at this point. And I
Right.
was like, well, oh, okay, well, let's do a toggle switch. Let's do a toggle switch. So I did a toggle. So I'm going to toggle this. And I pressed the button, and I said, when I push this button, I want you to toggle the LED on and off. So I pushed the button, and I pushed the button, and it wasn't great. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's got its limitations. And then I thought to myself, I need a project. I need something like massive, like huge in scope, because what I like to do is get the goal in my head, and like I said about the possibility space, I like to amplify the possibility space out maximal, but like you need an end point, you need a direction as well. So you can't be spinning in infinity with no direction. You have to be open and then have a direction. So I was like, well, let's try and do that tremolo thing. Let's try and do that. Let's pop that in the end here over here, and then let's see what that looks like. I don't know what this looks like yet. So I just started working towards that, and that was a couple of years ago. And I very quickly ran up against the limitations with ChatGPT, but in terms of like as a design tool, so a quick like code snippet kind of thing, it was really useful. And I just kept and I realized that as I was doing this, building it, making it more complex, I realized it was like errors and stuff. And actually, what I'd have to do was actually look at the code that it had generated, and I was able to spot errors and go, oh, actually, this should do this, this should do this. And then after about 6 months of using it, I was able to read C++, sorry,
Okay.
which is the coding language that Sketchy's coded in. And then after a while, I started to be able to like write my own snippets of code. That was about a year into it. Then about a year and a half into it, I was able to just like string things together, and I'd got basically the thing like so I'd figured out at some point that I needed to be able to draw in, like using Etch a Sketch app. I had to figure out how to take. A long time before that, I figured out that actually what I was building was a step sequencer.
Right.
And then, yeah, bam, 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 bam. One thing onto another, one thing onto another, and then before you knew it, like I was doing the audio circuit, and then I realized like the CE regulations, a lot of the stuff in the pedal world is all based on like Vactrols, which are light LED. What are they called? Not LEDs. It's an LED and a light dependent resistor couplet. A lot of stuff is based around them, but the light dependent resistor was illegal in the EU or something. Like something was happening, so I had to figure out how to make a voltage controlled amplifier. And VCAs are really expensive, and I was like, no, I can't be having that. I can't be having that. Possibility space again. Like, okay, so collapse it down. Find a way to make it not expensive. So I had to design my own VCAs. So I was like, right, okay, so now I'm designing my own VCAs. There's 3 months gone. Then there was something else that's gone. So and then before you know it, I had sketchy, and it just needed like time. It took me 6 months to basically just make it not sound crap.
Hmm.
And I had no input whatsoever into how to make the tone, what tone it had, or do anything else. I spent the whole time just trying to figure out how to not make it sound bad. And then by the time I'd done that, I was so fed up of it that the last month of it was just the last 2 months of it, like syncing up suppliers, PCB suppliers, enclosure suppliers, the microcontroller suppliers, all this kind of stuff, like just syncing them all up together and then delivering it was such a chore that by the time I got to the end of it, it was just utterly fed up with it. And then I delivered it before Christmas, and that was it. The whole story of it is just one of, can I do this? And the answer was yes.
But then, at what cost?
Yeah. So, and thankfully, because I'd done a lot of stuff with pedals previously, I knew how to bring it in at a cost as well. I knew how to deliver it, so it cost wise, in 2 years of work, man, to try and deliver that. And yeah, like I say, the least satisfying part of any like big project like that is finishing it. And
Yeah.
and I really still like mourn the development of it in many ways. I feel like that was such an explorative, like, and exciting thing to do. That I don't know.
You want to get back to the fun stage of the build.
Like, I've literally only just got back to that now, so it's really difficult to talk about because I think like it's taken me. I needed like a 2-3 months to step away from it to just go like enough.
Yeah.
I literally booked a month off. I shut the shop for a month because I was just like I'm out. I'm done for a bit. Like and I was mourning the loss of possibility, like because I'd finished it after 2 years. And it was such a big like achievement for me to get it done. That it took me like a couple of months to kind of play with it again, because it's because you're always like, your ear's always like, I could do this, and just to every time I plugged in, I could have done it, I messed this up, like, to not go near it. So like it's actually really difficult to talk about. And so when you say stuff like the guy from Emoji there, like I look up to people like that because I see what they're doing, and they're creating, they're doing something, they're putting their original stamp on something. I say the proximity plate thing, just like, and wonderful designs, and like the way they look, and they're just great pedals. And so to hear that like they enjoy it is everything to me, because right now I'm really struggling to enjoy the thing, and I've only just started being able to play with it again. So it's actually really difficult to talk about, which is a weird thing in itself to talk about. Because
I get what you're saying. It's to go from being so involved in a project and enjoying it and having fun to then suddenly having to switch gears and thinking, okay, now this has to earn money now. This has to be a product. It has to be, I have to put my business hat on, and this has to become, it's no longer about the fun side. I have to be I have to do all the boring stuff to make all of that other stuff worth it, I guess, or to bring it to fruition. And I can totally understand that.
it was worth it anyway. The pursuit itself was the gratifying thing. The
Cool.
thing now is that you've got to put your salesman hat on and then be a salesman and like
Yeah.
and do that kind of thing. And that's always the least satisfying part for me. And like, but the thing that saves it every time, and it happened the other day as well, is that somebody got it and they sent me a message just saying like, "Mate, this is amazing," and I'm not there yet. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, and so like that feedback is everything to me, and especially at the minute, and like to know that there's people out there, to know that there's people out there that are like using it and are enjoying it, and that like that's like it was a mammoth task. I've still got a bit of a hangover from it. I'm still struggling with like
burnout and
just a little bit, yeah. Because, especially towards the end, like it was really difficult to like. There was bits where of it was just like one component or one set of components, like trying to make it as good as it possibly could be, because I wanted to make an ultimate statement, like at the end, and be like, and again, it's that statement. It's that, here's my opinion on this thing. Wouldn't it be cool if you could do this? That's my opinion. Okay, well then, as somebody who builds these things, it's on me to make sure that I don't just have like in words, wouldn't it be cool to do these things, like type in, it's my job as the creator to actually make, even if you didn't know you wanted it, to just make it now a possibility for you. So like, I hand over that possibility to somebody else now, and like, and then to see people like exploring that space is just like, so at the minute, I'm very much like, I'm very much in the kind of when you said about the energy guy, like he's really into it, or he really wants part of it, that curiosity, that I say, oh mate, that is so good to hear, because
I'm glad.
Like, yeah, man, thanks for that. It was such a difficult and fun thing to do, like just to make it like really
bring
a
it
lot
into
of
reality.
passion, a lot of hours, a lot of that. Yeah, man.
There was some collaboration as well, wasn't there, with it as well? I'm aware of Richard from Stumpkins.
Oh, that guy's a legend, man.
Yeah,
just
it's like
through. That guy's an absolute legend. He has to deal, like anyone that has to deal with me, right, is a legend, because you've got to be, right, and because I'm like, no, it's this and this, and I'm like, I'm a terrible, again, I'm terrible like that. And he made the enclosure, he made the knobs. The brief was like, mate, I sent him the 29 not the Una, the Fleur. So I sent him this. I said to him, mate, I want it looking like this, right? Like this. So see this construction here. I want it built like this, right? And then I want it here at the top, and I want this, and I want this, and I want it to do this. But I need the screen in it. I need the switches and stuff like that. Like I need the whole thing. So
I never made that connection. I have to say, I'd never looked at it and realised.
Yeah.
Like I've never actually tried one of those pedals or had any experience with them, but I know that they are like that, and with the angled top and the bent enclosure.
Angle. Look at the angle.
Yeah, I'm like, now
Jesse.
you've said that, how did I miss that? I don't know how I missed that before. That's
It's the
amazing.
same. Look at it. Look. Right at the top. The same thing, like the same everything, like it's all there. Like I literally sent him one of these, and Jesse, like he's a legend. He's not gonna care. Like he's just gonna be like, cool, man. Like, but yeah. So I sent him this, and I said, and then he played with that, and I said to him like, how much is it gonna be to do all this and whatever? And he said, just buy me one of them. I said, all right, son. So we ended up with the screen. Cut out in the middle, the knobs. He designed the knob as well, which is if you get the Etch-a-Sketch knob up, see this little div. I don't know what you call this, like this little
recess bit. Yeah,
it's a clone of the actual Etch-a-Sketch. Sorry, if I just grab an Etch-a-Sketch, it's a clone of the actual Etch-a-Sketch knob. See this little, and with the grips around the outside.
Yeah.
And he was well on it with the little thing with the grips around the outside, except he made it fit. He made it fit so it dropped onto an encoder like that. So he's done like the
right.
I don't know if you can see inside there. He's made it so that it fits perfectly onto. Just give it a little push, and that's
amazing.
That.
Yeah, I was going to say this. Aesthetically, it just fits. Like it sets the whole look off amazingly well, and it's so nice to use with those knobs. They're just absolutely perfect.
That's it. I think once the idea like of the guitar pedal itself. From the John thing of talking to John, once I got to the idea that guitar pedals have knobs, and then you need the knobs to draw like something in 2 dimensions. Then you realise that it's already done. It's already done. Like it's done for you. You want to use knobs to draw something in 2 dimensions, mate. It's done for you. It looks like that.
Yeah.
So then the job then is to not hold back, is to go all in. Be like, right, it's done. At that point, the only conclusion you can arrive at is to make it look like that.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't argue with that. It's iconic. It's part of the culture. It's part of everyone's life. Like, you have to make it look like that. Otherwise, it's crap.
And the packaging as well ties in with that as well. I've got the packaging here as well. It's like that, mate. You need to talk about this. Like,
oh, mate,
but
cost
absolutely
an absolute fortune. That.
It's worth it. It was worth it, mate. Like,
mate.
When I opened this up, I didn't know anything about this one until I got it, and I'm like, what? You're having a laugh with like the Fisher Price kind of packaging. I'm like, that is absolutely genius. Like, no way he's actually done that.
At the time that I ordered, because of the lead times, because I'm trying to sync it up for Christmas, I'm like, right, it's got to be at Christmas, right? And I'm trying to sync it up. I didn't even have the finished thing to do it with. I just had to say to him, it's going to weigh about 1 kilo. The designers, it's going to be about this big or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to have to fit in it. I had a 3D printed prototype of it. And I had to just say to him, like, this is how big it is. And it cost, like, I've got 1,000 of them. I don't know if you know what 1,000, like, things look like. Let's see if I can find 10. There's 10 under my desk here now somewhere, right? And I'll show you what, like, 1,000. It's 5 big boxes. The thing collectively it weighs about 60 kilos. So I had 60 kilos shipped over from China. The boxes cost 600 quid. To have them made like individually, like this or whatever.
Yeah.
The boxes cost 600 quid, and the shipping was 600 quid as well.
Oh,
like,
what?
To get these 6, like, collectively 60 kilos of like, because at 1,000 units, which was the minimum order quantity, you've got to do it. So I'm now in the business of selling bloody plastic boxes now. So now I'm just like, well, I've got to, do you know what I mean? I thought I was making pedals, mate. I'm going to sell 1,000 of these plastic boxes now. This is an accessory, by the way, for the plastic box.
This is a perfect opportunity to bring this up as well. What's the price of these? Remind people or inform people of how much you charge for these things, because I think anyone who's already aware is going to be blown away when you tell them.
The sketchy.
How much are these? How much are these on your website?
Currently $199. And
ludicrous.
If you get like is it?
Oh, mate, seriously, anybody. Imagine if Chase Bliss had made this.
Yeah, I know. They do. Part of me feels like they do.
I know it's apples and oranges, but you know, I still think if literally anyone else had made this, I think they would be. I don't know what they'd be, but
I don't have this like desirability factor really. I'm just like, how much does it cost me, to do? How much is the work do I need to put into it? I try and minimize the work as much as possible because I don't really like soldering actually. So I'm trying to reduce that as much as possible, and then in doing that, it makes things a lot cheaper. So for me,
fair enough.
For me, getting I don't know, $199.
In today's, with today's market and with what is on the market already for digital effects, I think with what it can do, it's such a unique and innovative way of achieving an effect and letting you literally create tremolo patterns that have never been heard before. Literally anything you want from a tremolo, this can do. So the size as well. It's a really nice size. It's not ridiculously large or anything. It's going to easily, nicely slot into most people's pedal boards. It's an absolute bargain for what it is.
Absolute bargain, lad.
Absolute bargain. Anyone who does, I think everyone should have one. I think anyone that's even anyone who likes tremolo even just a little bit should fully get one of these. And they are affordable enough that everyone can. I think it's like
there's a function that's on there just for the nerds. There's a function on there. It's called an Eigen function, which I'm informed is German for just like Eigen just means yours, and it's a thing that you do in physics quite a lot, which is basically when you need a fit for something, you can basically just program the fit in. So I asked a physicist friend of mine because we sat down. Tom Galler, he owns serial number 27 because he's a big emo, and he wanted that one. I asked him. I said to me, mate, look, here's what happens when you when a valve like ramps up. Basically, there's like it's non-linear,
Right.
and there's this idea that like. So most things aren't linear, and what you do is you calibrate them within the linear region. I don't want to get too technical on it, but like for the physics nerds out there, and so basically what you guys get is ramping up, then you get this linear region, and then you get this like tapering off as the thing reaches like its maximum, as big changes make very small differences. And Matt saw fit to like call it crap, which I think actually means creep. So this function here, so we've got this like ramping up here on this side. Oh, you can't see that. Okay, we're gonna say ramping up here on this side. This is like
Hold it a bit closer to the
semi-exponential.
hold it a bit closer to the screen. We can see what you're
Yeah,
talking
okay.
about.
So we've got like the semi-exponential like ramping up. Then we've got this linear region. Then we've got this tapering off at the top, and then we've got this discharge here that looks like a capacitive discharge, and this is basically like how the bias on an amp looks like a valve. And so I said, to him, I'm doing this thing, and I can basically like make it do whatever I want. And the thing is that like what people really want to do, the reason people go with like optical tremolos over whatever tremolos is basically like the response curve. There's a response time aspect to it, but this is an OTA response. Like it's got a really fast response time. But like what they want is that the non-linearity is basically what a lot of mojo chasers are chasing. Is the idea of non-linearity. So I thought that
logarithmic. Is it called? Is it logarithmic?
Some of it is. Yeah, it may be in certain regions. Yeah.
Okay.
But essentially, it's just not. It's not a straight like line.
Right.
The way it responds at the end cases, like the extreme ends, is basically the way the onset and the knee and stuff like that. These kind of terms that people use, and the way people like they go on, it sounds better. It could be just because of the shape of the knee. So I thought like with this thing, what would be really good was to build in that kind of the way an amp, the bias works. It's really difficult to recreate it with circuitry. You got to do some you got to charge up a capacitor literally and then discharge it again. I thought it'd be really cool to like draw that in and have it there as like an amp thing. And then I was like, do you know what? Like, what else is there out there? And so I spotted. So I've just hit my mic. I spotted. What's it called now? Origin, is it? They're like UK, aren't they? Origin. They've got some really like innovative designs in the drive and like the tremolo stuff. And they did this a 65 or something. And so I had to look at the waveform, and it was like this kind of like thing like this. So I was like, I'm going to build that in as well. Like, you have to look at that. So they built it in. So I was like, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. So so a physicist friend of mine programmed the way a linear signal would respond to the way the valve amplifies it. So if you just take that signal and ramp it up linearly, how it's produced after it's been through applied to like a plate voltage on a valve amplifier. And so that CRP setting that Matt set. It's literally like I got a physics PhD to program that function for me, so I just thought I'd offer some credit to Tom Gallagher there for that one. He's in he's in a band. They're really good, but I can't remember the name. So that.
Well, if you tell me later,
Tom.
If you tell me remember it and tell me later, and I'll put it on the screen. So
legend! Thank you.
They will get a shout out.
He's a really good lad, and I thought with Sketchy with the waveform editor, if you know how the circuitry works, like of how the LDR works, like the mapping of how the amplitude changes, you can actually just draw it in if you want to, which is a really fun thing that I didn't really. I thought it was a possibility that the more you know about how these things work, the more you can get out of Sketchy, and the presets are there great because Matt Let's Play All, he put the presets in because the less you know, the more you want presets, but the more you know, the more you want to be able to adjust things, and you can't adjust the waveform on anything actually, as far as I know. I think there's that Zebra Tremolo. Have you seen that? Like, he literally released that about 6 months before I released Sketchy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called a Zebra Trem, and you can edit the waveform on it. So, like, shout out to Zebra Trem. Like, it's good, but it's not. It's
not that though, is it?
It doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't. You can't draw it in. Did you find it intuitive, like when you first like came into it?
Oh,
Because I think the user experience was a big part of like of because I know you can get to once you're designing something, you can get to kind of married to the way things work already. And I was
yeah.
trying to imagine all the time that I'd never used it before.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely found it. I think there was only one thing that initially struggled with, but then once I'd basically,
Was it getting to the waveform editor?
it was, yeah, that was the one bit I was like,
Yeah.
how do you get into this? Like, how do you actually access that? That key sort of part of the pedal. I want to get to that bit, but once it was literally in the manual, and I think you told me as well. So by the time I actually read the manual, which obviously I should have done from the beginning. I like to try a pedal without having read the manual first, just to kind of get an overview. I like to have that experience of being a complete, you know, novice with not having a clue about the inner workings, from reading the manual, and then once I've spent some time with it, then going back and doing a bit more of a deep dive and thinking, right, what have I missed? What can this thing really do that that I haven't picked up on already? So yeah, there was definitely the kind of that two-stage learning process for me with the Sketchy. So I like that about pedals, though. I like that you can use them at whatever level you want. So the fact that you've got the presets in there already for like a huge array of fascinating waveforms to choose from, both traditional and more experimental or weird kind of waveforms as well. There's a really nice mix in there to play around with. And then when you've kind of exhausted that, or you've kind of think, oh, I want to know what else I can do with this thing. Then there's all the kind of more complex stuff. You can dive deeper into it and explore even more. I love that. I think that's fantastic when you've got a pedal that keeps rewarding you for looking into it more and uncovering what else it's capable of.
Oh, amazing, man! I'm glad. Like there's certainly like I've started discovering like my way of using it at the minute because like again, yeah. By the time I was totally like by the time I programmed the waveforms again, because you've got to think when you're making something, things just don't happen. It's not like you can just download a sine wave waveform that is in the format that you need, because what you're doing has never been done before. You have to create that. Not just that, you have to create the file system in which it goes into. You have to create every aspect of it. Every line of code has to be like characterized and fully understood and determined, and every component as well. There's no accidents along the way, and so again, it's really difficult for me to like engage with it in a fun way at the minute. But I have found like what I've really started enjoying doing is just ramping up the speed, like full speed, full like 5 times 254 beats per minute, just cranking it up, and then using it as using the waveform editor as like dropping out bits in it, and then because it's got the grid on it, so it's got like the halfway grid, and then it's got these like quarter like divisions, using them to like draw out little cuts in it. And then them cuts become rhythmic, dun 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 dun, and then ramming it, and then you've got this like bit crusher thing that's got a rhythmic pulse to it. They're like, and so like that's where I'm at with it now, and then so I'm starting to uncover what it is myself that I've done, because all I was focused on was making it work.
Yeah, and you're getting back into like the fun stage as well, like rediscovering the fun aspects of the pedal. That's good. That's good to hear. It's reassuring to know that it's not just been like you've burnt out on it. It's completely.
So I used to be a physics teacher, and I left teaching because it wasn't for me. And after that, I went to work in a go-karting track. And I needed to be in that space afterwards, working with my hands, because I'd burnt out like intellectually, like as a teacher.
Yeah.
And the kind of the thing of teaching like had burnt me out. And I think that like and after this, I was working on a 2-knob fuzz.
Right.
And even then, I just couldn't
completely.
Like,
Oh right, okay.
I'm done.
Well, that's when you go back to like what you're doing now. You're going back to rather than the practical, the detailed circuitry side of things. You then go recover from that and go back the other way, just play and just be creative again and feed that part of your brain. Definitely.
I'm so in love with tube screamers at the minute, like I'm really like one of them pedals that's like it's so easy to dial wrong and it's so easy to dial right. It's not so easy to dial right, sorry. And then there's like very specific cases, like do you listen to the Strokes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Like Albert Hammond's tone on like "Is This It" has been my obsession for the last year. I've had my head in Albert Hammond's tone for about a year. So like around July time, while I was developing Sketchy, I needed something else to do. It's like some kind of escape. So I bought the so we're talking like OG Strokes. I got the V1 Jekyll and Hyde, which is his. And like,
True tone.
I reverse engineered this. Like,
Nice.
this is like the OG 2000.
Yeah.
I think it's the serial number 777, so it's early, man.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Really nice, yeah. So like, and I've basically found loads of tour pics and I re-engineered the whole thing, and then I rebuilt it in like a clone, my own clone version. You know, Five Cats pedals.
Yeah. Darren.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he? Yeah, Darren. Yeah. I don't really know him, so I don't really like. But Darren at Five Cats, yeah. He's doing a great service there. Like, and
absolutely,
he had the
legend,
the Tube Screamer and the Shredmaster PCB. So I was able after I'd traced the schematic for that. I've realised that it was a Tube Screamer and a Shredmaster, so I ordered the Tube Screamer Shredmaster PCBs from Darren, and then I put the mods that would have been relevant to the Jekyll and Hyde, and I built a Jekyll and Hyde. Basically in the with the Five Cats in a box.
Amazing.
Right? And I got to the whole thing, and my whole thought was like, right, well, what I'll do is I'll put like a little it's called a Fetzer valve. It's a runoff grooves thing, like a little Fetzer, like to load that in, and then I'll have the Fender EQ on there, and I'll have the Strokes tone, right? And it sounded fantastic. I bet, especially with 2-note.
Oh,
so, like,
yes.
So I had the 2-note, and I had the Fender Blues, DeVille Blues Deluxe, 2x12, 4x10. I can't remember which one's which, but I had something like that loaded in, and it just sounded absolutely perfect. And what surprised me was that as I was dialing it, like how much bloody gain I was using. I was like, no, and it was a massive education about how that tone was constructed. And I was gonna sell it in like Strokes in a box kind of thing, because I work with Andy quite a lot, Funny Little Boxes.
I was just gonna say that sounds like something that Funny Little Boxes would make, like with their
oh mate, yeah,
with their pedal range.
Definitely, they've got the 90s. Like they're right down the 90s, aren't they? Like with the
exactly. See, that could totally be a collaboration, I reckon, between you two. Like
for Andy, he's got a gift, that lad. I tell you, mate, he's got a gift, because we worked on Dirt, his latest pedal, Dirt.
Yes,
we were
I haven't tried that
together.
One, but I will. I'll get around to it at some point.
He's like, so we were working on that, and my solution was to like take the Allison chains in the studio rig, which was like, and make like this kind of tri amp model parallel split kind of thing. So he had the Rocktron at the top end, and then he had like two JCM 800s in the middle and the bass. Tune them accordingly, then have a summon mixer at the end, and instead on the front end give you the sound engineer's mixing desk, which is the relative like amplitudes of all three of them, and then the overall volume at the end, with no real EQ. The EQ would be the relative like intensities of them three like channels. And we were working on that, and it was a huge like board. It was about this big, and we were and then Andy just like, he went off, and then he came back with Dirt. And it was totally different. He's got like this gift. I was specifically using the amp schematics to try and recreate and reverse engineer that sound in a pedal form, whereas he was able to produce that sound not using the amp schematics, but just on like feels, like, and vibe.
Wow.
And he's got this real like gift of being able to take something very complex and make it very simple. And like Mingus always said, that this is like the artist kind of gift, is to take something complicated and make it simple. And and Andy's like, he's got this thing. And yeah, I think, to be honest, that's one of them pedals where I really need to just turn around to Andy and just be like, Andy, I need you to do an Andy on this, like, and just like,
do what you do
it's
best.
not too complicated. I've got a Fender like input with an EQ and an amp like driving, and then I've got the Jekyll and Hyde, and I've got the two going there, and it's huge, and Andy will just be like, nah mate, here's what you need to do, right? And he'll just go away, and he'll come back, and it'll be exactly the same, sound exactly the same, and it'll be like 1,000 components less or something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be
You'll find a simpler way.
Same thing.
Yeah.
He's a wizard, mate. Yeah, so
that'd be great. Yeah,
let's get him on it, really.
Definitely, I think you should. Yeah, I think that's got to happen. What else was I going to ask about? Oh yeah, so the format of Sketchy then. Obviously, you're saying a lot of work has gone into making this a reality, and all of the coding and everything that you've all the work that you've put in, all the learning that you've had to learn. Any potential future pedals copying this format or expanding on this format with other effects potentially, or are you
Yeah,
done?
yeah, man. So like I said, I've got 1,000 of these boxes, and I'm now in the business of selling plastic boxes.
Right,
So naturally, the next pedal's going to come in one of them plastic boxes. It will
right,
probably, but also no. On a serious note, the Sketchy's been built in such a way for this exact purpose. Like we were talking before about, what were we talking about? Like how I was building it, and one of the things that I was thinking about the whole time was like forward future proofing kind of thing, and I didn't
right.
want to put this much work into something like this draw format where like you're able to draw your own thing, save it, the file formats, the structures, how it works, like all this kind of business. I didn't want to put this much work in and then fully commit to tremolo. So I was trying to think about where like the waveforms could be used and whatever. And so yeah, so wherever there's like a time based thing, there's an opportunity there. I think, excuse me, I think delay and reverb are off the table exactly, but like, because you don't really want to draw that in. Like there's better ways of doing that. I
Okay.
think, and I look forward to them, and I that is on the whiteboard, but I need a year to just
Right.
decompress, right?
Fair enough.
But yeah, certainly with this one, phaser, I think is
Ah,
perfectly doable.
that would be fun.
But I once like I mean I don't want to like pre say so. I don't want to say anything because that's me saying something.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
not a fan
by all
of
means
doing this,
don't commit yourself or give anything away you don't want to. But yeah,
yeah. But
if you're
brains,
generally though you're thinking of maybe sticking with modulation for the time being, or this
the
format
brains,
lends itself more to modulation.
yeah. Well, yeah, definitely the brains board of this. This is the brain of Sketchy. So this, we've got the microcontroller. We got 4 different power supplies on this board, and then we got the 3-axis accelerometer for the shake feature.
Oh yes, of course.
Had to be done. Like so, and we got the screen and the things. This brain board, it doesn't really matter. The circuit that goes. This is the circuit board. It doesn't really matter, like kind of what circuit I put on it. The controls are a separate board entirely. So actually, all I've got to do is change this board. And you can have a different pedal. And I'd implore anybody who's slightly technical, if you want to pay 200 quid for Sketchy, buy one, reverse engineer it, and make your own board, please. But don't ask me for how to do it, because I'm going to tell you to do the work because I had to do it, so you should do it too. But if you want to like have a play with it, and you got an oscilloscope and you want to do that, like please like do it. I would again, the pleasure is finding things out. The pleasure is seeing people use the things that you've created.
Right.
The pleasure is that contributed to the body of knowledge that is the field that you're interested in. The pleasure is not like selling them, although that
it helps.
also happens. it just like it pays for the room and like I'm talking to you on a computer now. It pays for that. But all right, fine. But like
that's not
actually the worst part of it.
Yeah, that's not why. That's not why you're doing it. That's not why you're doing it.
No. I didn't even get into this for that. I made myself a
pedal.
I had to sell 49. You know what I mean? I didn't get into this for that. I didn't get into selling. Like I've got to do it. Like, and this is the thing. And I keep and I make like successful things that sell, and that's a really nice thing, and that's really good. And I hope that like in 10 years time that people like look at what I've made as a body of work and go, and actually this really adds something maybe we weren't ready for at the time, something maybe nobody even realized what it could do at the time. I was a sound engineer for a long time before I started building pedals, and a professional musician, and I was doing the thing and stuff. And like I'm hoping that like something in that, like when you combine that knowledge of the technical expertise with the experience like on the job doing the thing, that there's something worthwhile there, and it may be like slow burning and whatever, and And it may go underappreciated. It may just go on the pile of nearly made it, and it may just, and it may not happen until like the old Van Gogh. It may not happen until like 100 years time, and I'm dead, and then people go, "Oh, this is really cool." But that's not the point. The point is the pleasure of finding things out. The point is the pleasure of seeing other people using it, and the money just it comes in, it helps, and it keeps things ticking over. But it's really, I consider this like an expression of my opinions, really.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna keep putting stuff out that's like maybe it will be a phase, or maybe it'll be a delay. I don't know. It depends. Once I've done with this, I may decide that like I'm absolutely sick to death of this code and I never want to look at it again. And I don't care if it's marketable. That's somebody else's problem. Somebody else can make some money if I don't care. Like I literally, my brain is just like, do not do this. I do not want to see it ever again. Get it out of my sight. I'm going to do something else that interests me, actually, right? And that's what I'm going to do every time. I don't care about the how marketable it is or whatever. I really couldn't care less. I'm going to do what interests me, and I can't tell you what that's going to be in 6 months' time. It might.
That is the most. That is, yeah, that'd be awesome. That's the most important thing, though. I mean, I'm not as much of a creator, I guess, in that sense, apart from like basically what I do on my channel, basically making videos and creating that in that way. But when I feel burnt out on doing that, it's the only thing you can really do is to kind of just say, right, enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm not enjoying this. I'm not getting out of it what I initially got into this for. Like that, you have to just put it to one side.
What's interesting to you? All I care about is what's interesting to you. It's just like, do what you're doing and do it well. That's all.
That's exactly how I feel. I mean, that's now so you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly how I feel.
Oh, cheers.
If it's something that I want to make, I mean, for a little while towards the end of last year, I was basically kind of caught up in a string of videos that I was making that basically commission videos. People send me. It's great. I love that I'm in a position that people want to send me things that I can demo. And
no, you don't want to burn that bridge. No.
No, I mean it's a huge honour. I feel very privileged that I'm entrusted by so many people for them to send me their creations, and then they're trusting me to present the thing that they've spent who knows how long making in a way that. Go on.
Like, why did I send you a sketchy? I actually haven't sent it out. I've sent one out to Matt, but why did I send it to you? It's because we argue so much on Instagram. Like we argue in the DMs like so much. Like you're like it's like the way like. But the thing is like the arm can go that way if this muscle tenses, and it has to go that way if this muscle tenses. It needs both, right? This is the antagonistic pair. It's called. It's literally called that. And I sent it to you because we disagree on so many things, and it was just true. Like, I'm going to send it to this guy, right? Because if anyone's going to tell me what's what, it's going to be him. Because our whole relationship is based on going, lad.
What are you doing?
Lad, bam. Yeah. Like, and I don't want any of that. I just like, I'll see what Phil thinks. And I was really nice to see the video, and it's really a pleasure to hear that you enjoy it, because I feel like I've won a great victory because we don't agree on anything, lad.
We've bonded harder over this pedal than anything else. No, I'm glad. I was definitely honoured that you would consider letting me have one of these things, and I definitely highly appreciate it, especially when tremolo. I didn't even say this before. Tremolo is one of my all-time favourite effects. So to have this, it really is. I love tremolo. I've always. I mean, flanger is also up there. I think flanger and tremolo, for me, are kind of equal as far as like effects go. I mean, obviously, delay and reverb are right up there as well. Probably, maybe more so, but certainly for modulation. For modulation, I think flanger and tremolo are my absolute favourites. So to have this was like, wow, this has never been done before. I've never seen this done before. I'm all over this. This is amazing. So
why don't you keep it then? Why are you on about sending it to people?
Because I want them to borrow it. I'm keeping it for them.
Are they borrowing it though? Are you keeping it?
They are borrowing it. I'm definitely not parting with this one. This is staying with me, man. This is 100%. It's going nowhere.
Yes.
So tying back in then to, there's a few things we've covered already that we've glossed over, and I said we'd talk about later on. So now, back in, I think, maybe the beginning of not last year, year before. I can't remember. Basically, on your Instagram, you were talking about you put a whole bunch of videos on your stories that I was engrossed in watching, and you were tearing into and tearing apart and like waxing lyrical about the 29 pedals Una. Was it the Una? I
Oh,
think it was
okay.
the Una.
Yeah, yeah.
So you had one of those on your desk, and
Uh-huh.
you put so many videos up, all just basically just singing this pedal's praises. So as someone
Mm.
who has been vocal in the past in on Reddit and on my channel in different places about that pedal, and uh,
Mm.
please, I want you to basically sell me on the Una, because as far as I'm concerned,
Sell me this Una.
as far as
Uh,
I can see, it's just a very, very expensive buffer pedal with some EQ in there. So why am I wrong? Tell me why I'm wrong.
you're not. You're not at all. Like it's essentially a very expensive buffer pedal with some EQ. The thing with the Una is that Jesse's an engineer, and he's a very very good engineer.
Hmm.
And the stuff that concerns Jesse is the stuff that concerns some of the most discerning people around, is what I say. And I'm not sure that half the people that have the unit and extol its virtues are exactly in that category, is what I'll say.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
and I don't think it was ever made for that purpose. It's a weird situation where Jesse's made the best that he can make, and 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 he's very good, and so the best that he can make, and the things that concern him are not necessarily the things that concern a normal consumer. He's made something; it's become something that it was never meant to be, which is like a consumer product that's meant to be accepted by a million people. A consensus has evolved around it, whereas if you don't know what it's doing, then you're an idiot or whatever. Or if you and then there's a separate consensus, which is the opposite, which is like, oh well, it's it's just this and it's just this, and both them are like that's okay. And what's great about it is that it's polarizing in that respect. Not very few things are actually like polarizing, and so not only has he provided a great engineering solution for something that needed a solution, and you can look at just the fact that John Mayer uses it, and whether you like John Mayer or not is beside the point. John Mayer is one of the proponents of great guitar tone within this era. The fact that he uses it is a wonderful thing, and John Mayer's got ears like you like we don't even understand how them ears work, mate, because like and yet when you buy a Dumble like pedal, it's basically like slow dancing in a burning room, like in a box, like and it's like. And he defined a whole era of tone for us that were not related to John Mayer tones at all. He defined the Dumble tone as it is, which is basically that tone in a box. And so John Mayer is an obsessive. He's a serious obsessive to the point of the tone, and he uses this pedal, and I've used it, and I think that okay, it's not for me. I actually like cable capacitance. I think that adds a part of the tone and a part of the feel. And I don't want to use this word like lightly. The reactance of the guitar like into the circuit. It was the Una. It will take whatever you put into it, turn it into like its purest form. It'll remove the cable capacitances, it'll restore that, and then it will give you something which you've kind of never heard before, which is like a little bit of acceleration in the lows, a little bit of acceleration in the highs. I can't remember what the three switches are, but I remember it's like quite clearly is that the high end was like post like 5K, but in doing so, it produced the harmonics below, which introduced like a really nice, like dynamic response onto the top end, like with a lot of hi-fi guys, like High Fidelities and like the audiophile forums or whatever. The thing that they like isn't actually the cleanest thing going. The thing they like is them subtle distortions that occur, and it's the non-linearities again that we were talking about, like. And what he's done is he's basically taken them musical non-linearities that hi-fi guys really like and studio guys, and he's put them in a box and put them on a switch. Like he's categorized it and determined to go, that's a switch. And that's a hard thing to do. To put it on a dial is actually really easy. Just go like, oh yeah, just turn that and they can get it where you want. That's great, but most people don't know what they want. Jesse just go, switch it up. And there it is, the highest acceleration, there's the bass acceleration. And he's categorized that. That's a very brave and a very difficult thing to do. And you really put your stamp on something when you do that. So you have to admire that, you have to respect it. And to be able to put that forward and be like, this is the thing that you want. As a designer myself, like to have it on a switch with no parameter control is just brave as it comes, and it sounds great, and no matter what you put into it, it sounds great. And I know the power supply, the whatever. I personally think the power supply, the whatever power supply, is a bit like gimmicky, given that the Boss like 9 volt standard. It's been standardized largely for the large part. You can search guitar pedal power supply and it comes in 2.1, 5.5, your 9 volt setting negative every time, right? To
Right.
put whatever on there is it's a bit of an academic exercise, and maybe add something for Jesse. But I'm not sold on that. But the circuit itself, I think it's for an engineer, which he is, and a very experienced engineer. It's a very bold statement. It's a very informed statement. He's worked with these people. He's not just like making it up. He's not a guitarist making things for guitarists on the internet. He's in situ. He's working as an engineer, and to put that in a box and make a solution for his clients, and then for it to blow up in his face and become like this huge like consumer product.
Yeah.
And to make that happen and meet demand and work within it is not a small task. And he's worked his arse off. He's done a great thing. Whether it is great or not is beside the point. Tone's tone. Rose is a rose is a rose is a rose. Who cares? Like, if you like it, then it's good, and if you don't, then it's not. But what he's produced there is, I think, and looking at it from a design perspective, like looking at it, opening it up, I think I looked at it tonight. I went inside and I talked about the components and the bill of materials. To produce that and be able to produce it in a way and make it in America and make it like use locally sourced PCB builders, this isn't easy either. Like, it's very inflationary. The minute you go from
Well, you have done a hell of a good job, man. I tell you, I've definitely feel like I've been put in my place, not in a bad way. Marc, thank you. Yeah, no, Marc, you absolutely nailed it. Thank you very much for selling me on the unit. I'll have to get one and demo it on my channel. Thanks again. Thanks again for giving up some of your evening to speaking with me, and it's been great. Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Thanks very much. It's been fun. I enjoyed this the chat. Take care. All the very best. I will leave all the links in the description for anyone who wants to check you out. And yeah, I'll see you again. Bye.